Did you happen to catch my Declutter Your Craft Space for Good video? I posted it a while back and I thought it might be helpful to do a little bit of a follow-up to see how things have been going since then, since my great big purge, and why and how I rearranged my room into a complete overhaul, actually. I also want to share a lot of great money savings and space savings, organizational tips for you as well. So stay tuned and let's get into the fun. Hello everyone, it's Mary Polanco. Welcome back to all of you that have been hanging out with me for a little bit. And for those of you that this is your first time stopping by, welcome. Let's get into what we're going to talk about today. I wasn't really sure where to start with this video, so thankfully YouTube has something called chapters and timestamps. So in the description box below, you're going to see a bunch of timestamps to help you navigate around the video. Maybe there's some places that you want to jump around to, or if you're coming back to the video and you want to find that particular topic that you're interested in. So you can check that out with the timestamps that I put below. Now, before I get into really diving into this space right here, I do want to take just some time to remind myself and us that we start somewhere. So if you are in a very small corner of your house or apartment and you just have a little nook for crafting, that's wonderful. And I'm so excited that you even dedicated that space for yourself. I share that because I've been on YouTube since 2016. So from 2016 on, I've had a lot of different areas that I've lived in around the globe, but also just in my spaces in the house. And it's evolved quite a bit. And so now that I have evolved into a bit more of a business model, my room is definitely dedicated for that. And so I just want to share with you real quick, this is the corner of my house that we had just about 5 years ago, I think it was, maybe 6, in our first home in the Maryland area. As you can see, it's very tight, it's very small, but that corner brought me so much joy. That is what it's all about. I cannot reiterate that enough for you. If you are happy in your space and you are making time for yourself in that space, that is all you need. You don't need to have it look a certain way or to have matching everything or whatever. If that's not what calls to you, don't worry about that. Just make it a space that brings you joy and that you feel a sense of retreat when you step into it. So I wanted to share that with you because, again, every iteration I've had, I've absolutely loved because I've tried to create it to have a peaceful place to craft and be creative. All right, I hope that's a good reminder for us. So let's get into the next portion. In this craft studio / update tour, I want to go over some of the things that have changed since the last time that we spoke. Obviously, since my last craft room tour, which was a long time ago, a lot has changed. And I want to talk about why. Now, in my decluttering video that I posted, I shared a lot of the psychological factors behind why we may be keeping a lot of the supplies that we don't use or kind of hoarding them and not using them. And I really was able to get to the root of a lot of my own issues when it comes to my supplies. I was really super honest about why I was holding on to stuff. And then I was also honest and truthful about where I'm at in my life right now and if I'm actually going to make time for a lot of that stuff. Because I did a little bit of that mental work, I was able to release so much. And in doing so, I created a lot of creative space for me to design the studio that I really have always wanted. So I'm really excited to talk to you about that. Now, if you want to check out that video, that will be listed below in the description box as well. You can watch the whole video from there. All right, so let me start with the biggest changes that I made in this room. Just for frame of reference, this is one of our bedrooms in our home that I turned into my office. It is my all things office. So I'm a full-time student, I run 2 businesses, and I have my craft studio, crafting business being one of those businesses. So I needed the space to be a lot more functional for me in those 3 areas of my life. So the first big change that I made was I repurposed my closet. And this kind of goes back to the decluttering part as well. I was able to get rid of so much stuff that I put everything that I was using for my craft room or my craft business into this area over here. So you're going to see that in a minute. But I repurposed my closet and we turned it into a reading nook / guest bed. So my husband and I basically gutted out, if you will, the entire closet. We didn't pull down walls or anything, but we pulled everything out of the closet. And I bought a couple bookshelves, we bought a twin-size bed, and he framed out this beautiful frame for my reading nook. It takes up hardly any space into the actual bedroom space that we have, and so it's such a great use of that closet area for what we want. And so I'm able to go in there and I'm able to do my reading for school, or just leisure reading, or take a nap, or hide away for a little bit from things just to have some retreat. It is my sanctuary, and I am so, so grateful that he was able to do that. Plus, when we have guests over, as long as they're single guests, this is a great place for them to stay over as well. And again, it doesn't take up hardly any space into the actual room. So that I have to give all the credit to my husband for. I gave him an idea of what I wanted, and then he went and just designed it. And no, that is not his profession. He's just really good like that. He's very, very handy. You're going to kind of see that throughout this video. I owe this whole room to him. The other big change that I made was, as I previously mentioned, compartmentalizing areas. And so I took the other half of the room and turned it into a full-on craft studio / crafting area for myself. Now, of course, there's a lot of studio equipment that I needed, and one of the great things I have to say about how my husband helped me design this was he created it so that all the cords were up off the ground. Well, the majority of them are up off the ground. He went up through the ceiling, through walls. He did, one day he was crawling up there with a headlamp and came down covered in stuff. So, but it also just makes it look a lot cleaner because I'm in here all the time. I didn't want to be bombarded with a whole bunch of mess. So in this area over here, I have my craft space where I have a camera facing down for my recording of my videos. And of course, I'm looking at the camera face up right now. So I have those two cameras as well. I have lights all over the place, lights you can't see right now, but they're lighting up the studio as well. And then what I was able to do, which I'm really, really proud of, was everything in this little corner of my room is crafting. There is nothing else hiding someplace in some nook across the way that I needed for crafting items. No, if I use it for my crafts, it is over here in this area. So that has made this so much more functional for me. Everything, even extras, like extra adhesives, extra tools, it's all right here. So I'll start with what's behind me. All right, so what's behind me here is a whole new setup. Obviously, if you've come to any of my lives before or you've watched me on a front-facing camera before, it's a very different background because the whole room is shifted in a different direction right now for me. So right here behind me, you're going to see two large white shelving units, and then in the center, I have all of my ink pads and then my pops of color, another cabinet here. I'm going to show you all this stuff more up close, but I wanted to give you just a quick explanation of what you're seeing behind me. The great thing and also the unfortunate thing as far as sharing what I use to store my things is a lot of these items are from the thrift store. So we go to consignment shops and repurpose shops. There's a Habitat store that also sells furniture because, well, it's for all the good reasons. We want to reuse, repurpose as much as we possibly can. And sometimes it's hard to find exactly what you're looking for, even if you paid full price for it. So we were able to find these two units right here. You'll see they have 3 drawers at the bottom and they're identical. And we got them for obviously just such a good price. We do a lot of that. You'll see as I go through, just a lot of the stuff is from the thrift store. And I'll definitely share the items for organization and things that I can, that if you wanted to check them out yourself, all that will be linked below. But for these two, that's where we got them. They are perfect for what I wanted behind here. I was so happy when we saw them because they frame the wall very well. They fit so much stuff, and quite honestly, it's functional things too. My binders and my inks, my brushes, like it's very pretty as well, but it's also very functional. So I was very excited to see that, and we'll get closer looks into those items as well. Another thrifted and repurposed piece in this studio that I'll show you is the island that I'm working on. So I sit when I read for school, I sit when I'm editing videos, and I sit pretty much all of my other admin time. And so what I wanted to start doing was standing while crafting. I used to do that and I really loved it, and I found it really, can move around a lot easier. I can grab things. I do have to train my body for that again though, because after about an hour in a live the other day, I was like, ugh, my back. So we'll get there. But I wanted to start doing that again. And so this island is perfect for that. I do have a higher chair if I need to take a little break. So that's a good thing too. But we have the topper to my desk is repurposed from my old setup. And so what we did was we screwed it onto this island. Now the island, quote unquote, is actually from it's from IKEA, but we bought it at the thrift store, and it's a dresser from IKEA. And so I loved that because it had a bunch of different size drawers that I can put a lot of my things in. Now on the other side of my island, that's where all the drawers are, so it's not like I can reach over right from here. But it's stuff that I don't necessarily use in every craft session. So if I was going to go use my alcohol inks, I would just walk around, grab my bin, bring it over. The stuff I use all the time and frequently is right here on the desk or right behind me. So that was another functional piece I made sure to pay attention to when I was setting up my room. Right underneath this island, there is a ledge because the topper for the dresser was larger than the top of the dresser, which was great, and that's what we wanted. So there's a ledge here for me to sit. But then really cool is the back side of the dresser I covered in magnetic sheets, and it holds almost all of my dies. I say almost. I have a few that are like coordinating dies that stay with their stamp sets, but most of my shape dies and sentiments and things like that are on the magnetic sheet, which is just makes me so happy. Like, I really don't like sifting through my stacked dies, the stackable ones. Nested, that's the word. I don't like searching through those. I like to look and see, and I'm such a more efficient and excited crafter because now I see all my things. So those of you that have your dies all displayed, I see you, I feel you, and I am there. I used to have a few of them on my side desk. You'll see that in my old tour video. But now this is huge under here, so I have a lot more. So I'm very excited about that, obviously. So that's the sort of my die storage solution there as well. In the far corner over here by the window, I have a little table set up. Not a lot of people are going to need something like this, especially if you don't share your content online or if it's not part of a business that you have going. But I really wanted a space that was already set up at all times for me to be able to take my pictures of my projects. I really am into streamlining and making things as easy as possible. So anyway, this was a solution for me that has made such a huge difference, and it's a really small change. I'll talk briefly just about the setup for my office. We have 3 monitors here that I do schoolwork on, and I do a lot of editing and admin work and all that stuff. So I love my little desk setup here. The storage off to the left of my desk, I'll be 100% honest with all of you. I sold that during a D-stash a couple years ago, I think. I sold that setup from Tonic, I believe it is. And I've looked everywhere for something similar, and it's the only thing that I love, so I rebought it. That happens sometimes, but I was okay doing it. So I rebought that whole setup. It's one of my favorites because of the openness of it, and so I have an area for my pens, an area for my incidentals, and then the centerpiece for just, as you can see, all the things that I need to go through or that I just need at quick reach. And then in front of the window here, I usually have a plant. It's being repotted right now, but this is a little desk I have just to charge up my laptop and some other things like my watch and whatnot. That probably is going to be moved when we bring in the air conditioner as things are starting to warm up here in Maryland, so we'll see about that. And then this corner right here, I did want to just touch upon it briefly. This is sort of my business stationery printer type of area. So I have my printers here. I also have the filing cabinet, and then just, some things I need for when I'm shipping out stuff. So that's pretty simple. So here is a full overview look at the entire office and the craft studio and just how I have things set up. The next part of this video is going to be a much more detailed look into how and why I store my supplies the way that I do. Hopefully it sparks something for you in your space. It's really hard to say, hey, store things this way, because everyone's space is so different, and also our styles of how we want things stored is so different. Do you like things out and about where you can see them, or is that too cluttered for you and you like everything put away? So you just have to know yourself. I go into a lot more detail about that in the last video if you want to check that out. Let me share one of the coolest things about this setup that we have going on. So this is the island right here, and this island is actually on wheels. So this is in the open position, and this is the closed position. And so I can move the island back and forth as needed. If I'm closing up shop for the day, if I want to just tuck everything away, I have that option. And so here's a look from the other side of the room. So this is the opened layout. So this is when the island is ready for crafting and ready for recording. And then this is when it's tucked away and closed in. So it opens up the room a lot more. I love that feature. I'm so glad that we did that because it just gives me more options to make more space in the room. Next up, we're moving into a more detailed look at how I store my supplies. Let's start from the top down. So I keep my large box back there. You can see that's my 𝐒𝐔𝐏𝐾 box I use for sprays. And then moving down, I have some decor, but then this is where I keep my embellishments. This has been really one of the biggest changes that's helped me use up my embellishments in my crafting, is to have them where I can see them all and easily accessible, and I can pull out each of these drawers individually. So that's been really, really helpful. Over here, I have two empty containers. Actually, these are empty. I'll label them once they're full, but over here we have just filled with different markers. And when I say markers, I'm talking about like black and white markers, gel pens, things like that. Moving down, I have two magazine holders. This is helpful for me with my work with scrapbook.com. It just lets me know where particular products are. Are they upcoming? And then I also have a giveaway. I know this might sound surprising, but this is my only pattern paper right here in this one bin. I have A2 sizes and 6x8. I also have some rub-ons in the back. So I keep the stuff I will use most. And then this is my only other section of paper aside from where I have some pre-cut stuff. So I have my accent 100, accent 80 pound, and then I have some Nina 80 pound left, and then some 110. So that is where I keep my paper. And that white bin that holds the paper and separates it, that was thrifted as well. You're going to see a lot of these ink pad storages. They're my favorite. They're from scrapbook.com. And I keep all my ink pads in those. So you'll see that in just a second. Over here, I have miscellaneous paper, and that's watercolor, mixed media, or chipboard, some colored cardstock, very, very minimal colored. I think I have red, some gray, neutrals, things like that. So that's really it. Those two areas, some pre-cut, and my pattern paper. That's what I have for paper. So let's move down here to the drawers. So in this first drawer, I have my cutting mats. So I have two machines, the Spellbinders Platinum 6, as well as the 𝐒𝐔𝐏𝐾 Switch. And so I have a lot of replacement mats in there, other mats too. This one's for the Altenew stamp wheel. So I have that. So I just keep them all in here. You'll notice a lot of these drawers are not filled to capacity, which is really encouraging for me, because I did do a purge and I don't mind extra space. I don't need to fill it. So that's the top drawer. And then the bottom drawer, this is where I keep all of my adhesive that is foam or double-sided. And I keep all kinds in there. I also have some painter's tape, extra press and seal, and some packaging tape for when I ship off stuff. So I, again, compartmentalize. Everything is very like items, and they're all in there. And I have plenty of extras, so I won't run out for quite a while. So that's the bottom drawer there. Okay, let's shift to the center here. This is where I keep the majority of my inks. I have the full set of oxides and Catherine Puller. And then also, I'm going to just go out on a limb and say I have all the pops of color as well. So we have that there also. And then I have this IKEA cabinet, which is great to kind of, I don't know, round out the middle area. It gives me some top storage, but then also some inside storage. So we'll look at that next. All right, let's see if we can get this in a full shot. So we have 3 separate shelves on here. And this is how I store a lot of these extra things I don't use all the time. And so they're kind of hidden away, which is what I like. If I'm not using it daily or for every craft, I kind of like to put it away. I found these 2 drawers here. I love that they open up from the front and I don't have to take the top off to remove the bottom lid. So that's really convenient. And this is where I keep my re-inkers as well as these little containers. So these containers are from the Dollar Tree. And I just poked holes in them, and this is tie-dye powder. And think of like Brusho powders, really vibrant, add water to them on watercolor cardstock. That's what these are. So I have those in there, as well as my oxide re-inkers, and I don't have all of them, but we're working on it. And then I have the Catherine Puller re-inkers, which pretty much all of them. And then I have that there. Okay, the middle one, I have some extra inks. I have just some decor things. This is really kind of empty. And I have it here just in case I do need to start storing something else. Over here I have my journals and my planner books and my punch for that. Okay, moving down to the second shelf here, I have all my pre-made cards ready to go. I have envelopes for my cards. I have an extra empty bin I didn't want to get rid of because, you know, I might actually use this because I have multiples of them. I have extra re-inkers for my Ohuhu markers, and then just some disc stuff back there, like for my disc planners. At the bottom, I have this really handy container for my Arteza. I have the 96 set, and so it's nice again to have a drawer for it. So that's that. And then my Ohuhu 320 set markers are down here. So I'll show you how I store those. That's really been the best way for me to store my alcohol markers, to keep them flat, but also together and bundled. So once I figured out which markers blend well together, what I did was I moved them to a bigger case and I bundled them by 3 and 4. Whatever combination I came up with, whatever amount that was, I put them together with some rubber bands. That made it so much easier when I know I'm just looking for one color and then the pack will be together. I have some extra packaging for stamps, magnetic sheets, and envelopes. And then I have another one of those paper holders down here. And this is filled with masking paper, acetate, miscellaneous stuff. Not really any paper, but more like foils and things, specialty things that I would use in my crafting. Okay, let's look at our other unit here. So if you notice, I turned the lights on. I had put these lights inside my unit, so I love them. I think it just adds such a fun element. I think I got a pack of 6 from Amazon, really not that expensive, and they're rechargeable, so that was really fun. And I have one down here, over here. Ultimately, I want to put one in all of the cabinets, but right now we only have 6. So this is, again, just kind of looking at an overview of how I store stuff. I made some room for some nice decor pieces. I highlighted my little Spellbinder Scout there, and then also wanted to highlight my beautiful shimmer flakes from scrapbook.com. So don't forget, use some of your items at your supply list for your decor. I have another ink pad storage here that's for some other Catherine Puller ones. And then I have my binders. So my binder storage is mostly stencils. The 3 in the middle are mostly stencils, or all stencils. And then I have some swatching in the other binders. So inks, watercolors, things like that. These are both from Tonic. And I really have a good place to just kind of throw some backgrounds that I'm working on. I love this because if I just have no full completion card making mojo, I just kind of make backgrounds and then toss them in here and then pull them out when I'm ready to play. So that's really what this storage is all about. I have some office supply stuff as well. And then I love this right here. I keep a lot of my extra elements and sentiments and embellishments and things like that. And then I keep this little tray, these 2 trays here, because when I'm not using them on my craft desk, I just store them here. But when I am, they hold all my little bits while I'm crafting. And I have those 2 small ones, and then I have these 2 larger ones here. So the bottom drawers here, same design as the other one right here. The top drawer, I have some project stuff that I want to work on upcoming. And then I have some cords I need, extra storage, embossing, and then tools over here. So my little mini vacuum, my bag sealer, stuff like that. This bottom drawer is quite full, and this is my Cricut stuff because I purged so much, but I didn't want to get rid of everything. This is just stuff from the Dollar Tree. I have a lot of my vinyl, heat stick vinyl, all of that stuff there, as well as transfer tape, and my Cricut machine is down there as well. So it's a really full drawer, but to have just one drawer for a craft that I don't really do that often was really good. Pardon the glare on the glass there, or the acrylic, but I have a storage area for my sprays. Again, you can see don't have a whole ton of them, but these little trays here, my husband found on his treasure hunts at the thrift store again. And all I had to do was use a leveler and a ruler, and I got them up straight. So I have my oxides, my distress spray stains, and some other miscellaneous, like hairspray. Because, you know, you never want your hair to go flat. I'm kidding. That's to set my projects. Some of them you need to set. A little hairspray helps. All right, I'm going to geek out on you a little bit for this next one because this is really super fun and so convenient. So I have this extra space right here, as you can see, on top of one of my Alex drawers. And I wanted my tools very easy to access. And so what I did was I purchased this bamboo lid holder, I guess it is. And it was about $6.99. And so it has, what I can do is just put all my tools straight in there. Now I've seen the crafting world make these, and it is definitely not $6.99. So this was a nice money saver that I was able to pick up. I got that one from a shop in Amazon. And so as you can see, I have my mini Misty, I have my silicone mats that I use when I'm doing embossing or drying my heat panels. Okay, so I have my regular size Misty, then I have my mat I use for ink smushing on a Dollar Tree clipboard. And then I have my large mat right here. This is the ultra sticky grid mat I keep in a plastic container. Instead of having to put acetate on and off to keep dust off, I just put it in that folder, and that has a plastic coating. Okay, so I have my Stampin' Wheel right here. I have my first cutter, which is also my score tool. I love this cutter for the fact that I can score my stuff right along with the cut. Now, I usually cut in bulk with my tonic trimmer. It's just with the guillotine, it's a lot sturdier, stronger. I don't have to replace the blade, but then I come over here for scoring, without a doubt, because I find it so much easier. I also have my large score tool right here. I use this quite a bit. This is from 𝐒𝐔𝐏𝐻, but it's a multi-use tool, and I love it for how large the surface is for scoring. But yeah, I got that bamboo holder, and it's fantastic, and this is the perfect place for it because I can just reach it from my island, and we're good to go. All right, let's have a look at what's in these drawers right here. Top drawer, I like to keep my acrylic blocks, my stamp for the back of my cards, and just some rulers and miscellaneous things. I use these for stamping with my stamp positioners. It just rubs over, it gets a better image. So I have those. I think they're called a Chucky. I don't know what that, I had a crafty friend, husband made them for me and sent them, so that was great. This is where I keep my other brushes, aside from the ones that are on top of my island. I love these. I have them in the smaller and the larger. They give such a beautiful, large, blended background. I also have some mini ones. My next drawer here is where I keep all of my pre-cut stuff. So I have some bases, and then I have different cardstocks broken down by the type and labeled, so I can just easily grab those. Again, if I don't have any mojo, I come in here and I just cut up paper, and it just makes me feel like I'm being productive in my favorite space. I also have some of these here, which are sentiments already cut up and ready. I have some Bristol Smooth cardstock cut up into slimline, and just some miscellaneous cardstock there. The next drawer is my cleaning drawer. So I have baby wipes, I have my microfiber cloths, my stamp cleaners, and then the final drawer down here is full of paint supplies. So I have setting spray. Yes, that's the official one, aside from the hairspray. But then I also have some gouache, watercolors, brushes, things like that. So all the same type of thing in one place. This is where all the crafting happens on this desk here. Now I will kind of start from the left and move my way over. On the left hand side of this island, there's actually an extension cord that's attached to the desk, and that allows for me to have my heating tools right here. And I use this, probably one of the best things I've gotten, because they're metal inside. I don't have to worry about any plastic melting. I can just put my heat tool right back in there. I have just my spray bottle here, but I have my regular heat it for when I do backgrounds, and then I have my Wagner for when I do embossing. And so I love that. Plus there's some storage in the front of it, but it's right next to the outlet, and it also gives me a lot of room because the extension cord is so high up on the side of this desk. So that's been really convenient for me to be able to just grab my tools and use them. Now this piece right here I made and showed in a Dollar Tree video. I put it on a little turntable right here, but it has my brushes. I also keep my brushes labeled which ones are dye and which one's oxide, because I don't like to mix those. And then I just have all my most used tools over here as well. My most used scissors, poker tool, just all that good stuff. My picker up tool for my gems, stuff like that. I have a tiny little station right in front here for embossing. I say a tiny station. It's just the most used powder that I have right here, as well as my bamboo powder. This is anti-static powder in there. If you haven't seen me show this off, this is just a makeup powder. So if you have an extra one laying around, empty it, clean it, add some anti-static powder. And I love using this. Also, it's just pretty and it makes me happy. Versamark sticky ink. So those three things is sort of my mini station for embossing, and I keep it at an arm's reach because I use it so much. Now, the monitor in front here, this is for my lives. And so I can actually see all the comments and everything right here in front of me. It makes it so much easier for me to engage. I have just some tape dispensers over here. And then right at the end, I get to keep my die cutting machine and my paper trimmer. These are the two I use the most in everyday crafting. Occasionally I will have to go to my larger Sizzix switch if I'm using a larger project or a larger die, or I can also pull in my mini, which is my 𝐕R memory keepers. I use that one a lot too when I'm doing a lot of just little die cutting. And pretty much lastly, before we move, my husband had bought one of these paper towel rolls that just sticks right to the side. And so I grabbed it, and again, he got that, picked it up from the thrift store, and I put it right here so I can have my paper towels very easily accessible whenever I'm doing something pretty messy. All right, so this is the front of my island, and again, this is an IKEA dresser that I'm repurposed into, we picked up from the thrift store, that I repurposed into storage. I love that there's actually smaller drawers and larger drawers, and they are differing in size. So yes, these are shorter, but that's actually not as deep as the bottom one. So it gives me some variety. So let's start over here. These two drawers right here are purely stamps and a few dies. Now I have all my dies and stamps, the dies, I should say, that coordinate with the stamps, or if I have alphabet dies. These two drawers are scrapbook.com. I use scrapbook.com the most, and so I keep them in here, not necessarily by theme, except for starting in October all the way through Christmas season. I have those separated out. Other stuff is sort of just mixed inside. This next drawer right here, this is where I keep a lot of my pastes right over here. So I have my Cool Whips and my Cool Whip. It looks like Cool Whip, Cloud Whip, Distress Texture Paste. That's all pretty much embossing pastes. Right here, though, I have non-scrapbook.com stamps and dies. These 3 drawers, and not even this full drawer, is all my stamps. And so that's what I keep. I like to keep the things that are timeless, the things I use the most, and I'm really cognizant of that. All right, this bottom drawer is where I keep all my alcohol ink supplies. I have just an empty organization tool there, storage tool there, and then I have sewing. So I don't sew as a craft, but I do sew to fix certain things in my family, clothes. Sometimes we make things randomly, but it's not anything I do as a serious hobby or anything. But it's a great tool to have, a sewing machine, and to know how to use one. So thank you, Mom. All right, let's move over to this side here. In this top drawer, I have tools. So I actually do sometimes need to drill something in the room, or I have extra equipment for my cameras, things like that. So that's a boring drawer. We'll just close that right up. And then over here, I have stuff I want to play with, stuff I want to make. For example, I have all of these wooden squares here. I want to make that Scrabble puzzle looking thing for our walls with our names on it. So I thought that would be really fun, almost like a crossword puzzle. So that's, and by the way, I've been wanting to do that for about 5 years, but I'm not letting go of the dream. I also have my Spellbinders press, the letter press that I bought. Let's just not talk about it. Bought it a while ago, and I'm going to get to it, I promise. And then right here, I have my heat press for when I do my vinyling with my Cricut, and just some other stuff like that, some other pads. I do want to show you this though. So this, I think, was a container for cookies at some point. I keep it for when I do stenciling with embossing paste. If I'm making a lot, I just fill it with water and soap, and it's so flat, it fits a whole bunch of stencils in there, and I just put it off to my side of my desk and throw my stencils in there until I can clean them. So that, I just wanted to show you that real quick. All right, and then this drawer down here, this is sort of my catch-all. This is where I put a lot more of my giveaway stuff and then shipping supplies. So I just use that drawer just so that I don't have to look at it. I can tuck it away, and it's ready for me to pull out. Okay, so this last part right here, not that exciting. It's another Alex drawer that I wanted to keep for my last setup because I just love Alex drawers. The reason is because they're so shallow. You can fit so many different things and compartmentalize them and separate out and keep like items together. And so I'm a huge fan of the Alex drawer system. I just have a couple of those drawers with some extra tools. Stuff I will not use every day, but extra scissors, glues, tape runners, stuff like that. Well, if you are still here at the end of this video, I'm so grateful that you are, and I hope that it was fun and it inspired you to maybe take a little bit of time out to go through your items, see what you can. I always want to encourage purging if you can, and reorganizing for the way that works for you. Think about how things are functional for your own space and how you like to craft, and pay attention, because as your craft evolves, your needs evolve as well. So things change. This is probably my 7th iteration of a craft space. So I just want to encourage you as you're looking at your space as well. And I hope it was also helpful to see some of the ways that I store things and some of the tips and tricks along the way. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you are not aware, I host live classes every single month, and you can check out the schedule of what's coming up next over on my website, MaryPolancoDesigns.com. I would love to have you. All the tickets for my classes, except for the December holiday event, are pick your own price. You can price whatever you want, as low as $1. I just want to build community for us and to share ideas and tips and tricks and craft together one Saturday every month. And I hope that you join us. It'll be a lot of fun, I promise. And I do lots of giveaways, and it's just a good time. So you'll see all that information over on my website. You can also purchase past classes, again, picking your own price for that as well. And I have some freebies for you on the website also. So again, thank you for stopping by. I can't wait to hear your thoughts and suggestions and things that you do in your craft space as well that you love down in the comments below. And if I don't see you there, I will see you in the next video or in class once a month. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.